Greetings. In this video I am going to go over how we will begin building a Sears house in Revit. We will insert this JPEG into Revit. I have set the building elevations. I'm going to provide you with that template, and then we'll put some walls in place and get into building pitched roofs for the first time. Okay, so this is my JPEG that I have saved off the internet. It's a pretty straightforward house. Drop that, and here we are in Revit now. And these are the elevations that I have set in place. And in our review sheet, I explain what these, how I came up with these elevations. So here's my review sheet and my little sketch. Okay, so we have 0, 0 is grade, so that would be the earth, grass, or the sidewalk. And then we have 211 to the bottom of the first floor, or the top of the finished floor, you'd actually call that. And as I state here, so that is the first floor in the porch, 211 or 35 inches, and that allows for 5 stair risers that are 7 inches tall. So 5 times 7 is 35 inches, or 2'11". So that will get us up to the first floor. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertical risers. Then for the first floor, I gave it a 9-foot ceiling height, and then there's a 10-inch flooring for the second floor, 10-inch floor joists. And that brings us up to 12 foot 9 inches to the second floor. Okay? So that's the 9 feet plus the 10 inches plus the 2'11". So second floor height is at 12 foot 9. On top of that 12 foot 9, we added another 8 feet. That should be feet, not inches right there. 8 feet for the floor to ceiling height for the second floor. And then I added 6 inches for ceiling joists. And that brings our second floor bearing, where the roof will rest, up to 21 feet and 11 inches. All right, and I provided you with these numbers here in the template. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to jump over, and once I create these elevation tags, of course they populate here. So I have my grade plan, my roof bearing plan, my first floor, and my second floor, and my site plan. You could put your JPEG really into any floor would be fine. I'm going to go with the first floor. I think that kind of makes sense. Then I'm going to come here to insert and to image. And I've added it all ready here to go in my Revit file. I double click and I drop it into place, and there it is. Okay. And all we need is this floor plan, really. We're not going to, we're sticking with simple houses here. So most of them have the same first and second floor footprint. This one has this little pantry and cupboard coming off the back, so that's tucked under this roof. But in general, most of these Sears houses are pretty simple, pretty boxy. So we really don't need to, if we had a more complex building, we could insert the second floor plan into the second floor, the third floor into the third floor plan, and we could stack them all. It'd be pretty much impossible to stack JPEGs properly, but in CAD, with CAD plans, if you could easily stack numerous floor plans and have them perfectly aligned. We're not going to do that on this project. We're sticking with simple JPEGs, and we're just going to be able to kind of infer what's happening on the second floor without much of a problem. So we're just going to zoom in here and get this to scale. So typically residential doors are 32 inches. Commercial doors are 36 inches for wheelchair accessibility, and residential is 32. In today's homes, you might find front doors to be 36 inches for moving furniture in and out, but we're just going to go with 32 inches. I think that'll suffice. So this is our front door, and we want to get it to 32 inches. So I am going to jump over to Architecture tab, and here are model lines, which we really haven't discussed much. They're basically there to kind of construction lines. So I'm going to zoom in here, start on one side of the door, and then you can see as I pull this out, 32 inches would be 2'8", so 2'8". I'm just going to type in and enter. And you can see that this JPEG actually came in pretty close to where it needs to be. That might not be the case with your JPEG. Perhaps 32 inches could stretch all the way out here, or if it's an enormous JPEG, 32 inches might just be a fraction of that size. Whatever it is, the scaling procedure is really the same. So this door is probably actually drawn at about 36 inches or so, but I'm going to shrink it down to 32. So I am going to, and now right now the JPEG is selected actually. And I'm going to go over to my scale command, which is right here. And then it's not, so enter the origin point. So the origin point is going to be down here, and that's going to be my origin. And then it's basically 3 clicks. The origin, and I'm going to come along here to the other side of the door. So I'm just kind of clicking out in space. There's nothing for me to snap to. Click 2, and then I'm going to bring that and show it. I want to move that point on the JPEG to this point on the line, and it shrinks. So my 32, so I still have my image selected. I'm going to click over here so I don't have it selected. And then you can see my 32-inch line fits nicely inside that door. So a 32 or a 36-inch front door is fine. You have to get these things to scale properly. And I can't select that line because I have this JPEG selected. So I have to click off here, and then I'm going to zoom in, select that line, and delete it. You have to get this correct. You have to get the plan, properly scaled, very close to properly scaled, before you start building vertically. Otherwise, the vertical and horizontal dimensions will not match, and that will be very, very problematic. All right, so now I have that set. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to select that JPEG, and I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to pin it so that it does not move. Okay? And then here are elevation cameras, and I'm going to move them closer to my floor plan. The rest of this JPEG I don't really need or care about, so I'm going to zoom right in and focus on the floor plan. Just get those all nice and centered. Okay, so that's my floor plan. Now I'm going to keep it simple to get this started. I'm going to start with I have a second floor, but I just want to place the first floor walls, and we're going to go with generic walls again. Typically these Sears homes have this kind of nice old-fashioned clapboard siding, which are all available in Revit, but they are not available when I come here to walls. The kind of the basic assemblies that Revit provides us with here: brick on CMU on metal stud, CMU on metal stud. You're not going to find clapboard siding here. So I'm not going to bother messing with these walls that have a lot of different components to them. We're going to just stick with some basic generic walls as we did in our first project. So I'm going to go with 6-inch generic walls for the exterior walls, and then I'll probably move down to 4-inch generic walls for the interiors. So I'm just going to click on that, and I'm actually going to, I think I'm going to add this, the pantry and this closet that are only first floor structures. I'm going to add that later actually. I'd encourage you to do the same. Just start with the basic outline of the building and the walls that are going up 2 stories. If you have a single story building, you could just go to the single story then, to the first floor, and I'll provide a separate template for that. So I have my 6-inch wall there. I am starting on the first floor. It is unconnected, which I do not want. I'm going to take it up to, I'm not going to take it up to second floor bearing yet, and I'd encourage you not to, and I'll explain that I'll explain that right now, I guess. So second floor bearing, when we look at this, second floor bearing, so right about here is our first floor. Second floor bearing is would be somewhere around here. That would be about 22 feet here. And a lot of the houses have that. They have these kind of deep roofs that come and they take over a portion of the second floor. So what I want to do is I want to have the same continuous walls that extend all the way up to this roof, but just to keep matters simple, I'm just going to cut these walls off right here. Then I'm going to build the roof, and then I'm going to shoot these walls up to it. Otherwise, if I sent these walls up to the second floor bearing right now, they'd be up here somewhere, and the roof would be penetrating through them when I built it. So just to keep things simple, I'm just gonna go from first floor to second floor. Okay, so let's jump back down here, and I have wall center line, so that's fine. I'm just gonna start right here, and it is centered. I'll stop right in the center, turn, come down. Center, center, and again, these JPEGs you can only get so much accuracy out of them, but that should suffice. That should be just fine. Okay, let's create a 3D view, which I don't have yet. So there's our default 3D view, and there's my house. Okay, good. So now I am going to jump over to the second floor bearing, all right, and I cannot see anything. So what I want to do is come here to the underlay, all right, and the range. Let's open this up a little bit here. Let's see, we have so the range, we're looking down, and what we want to do is look all the way down. Let's look all the way down to grade and then apply that. We don't see our thing yet. Let's see, where did I put that? On the first floor. Let's see if that helps. There we go. Now I can see my building at least. So when you have issues with not being able to see things, that is because of underlays often. It's not extending down. So that helps us see our building at this point. I still can't see my my JPEG, so I'm going to have to jump back to my first floor actually to see that, which is fine. We know how to draw. We know that sometimes we have to draw on one level and shoot things over to another level. So I'm going to jump back to my first floor, and now what I don't have is an overhang. All right, I don't have. When I look at this plan, there are no dash lines around it. These are very simple plans. In most, contemporary architectural construction documents, you would show the dash line for where the roofs exist. We can see the porch roof here, but we can't see the main roof. So what I need to do is offset these lines so that they create the overhangs. And looking at this building here, as is common, the gable walls, this is a gable wall and this is the eave. So the water comes down and it meets here at the eave, and the fascia. This is where the gutter exists, all right? So this is where the slope is going to exist. Think about gutters. That's where the eave is. So that is this wall, and then this is a gable wall. That refers to the gable right there. And this is a gable as well. So as is common in a lot of houses, the gable roofs extend over a bit further than the eaves, and you can see that there's really basically no overhang here. You might round it to 6 inches. It might be as little as 4 actually. And this I'm going to round up to a full foot. Maybe I'll make that 6, and I'll make this one 12. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in to here, and now I'm going to get ready for my roof. So I'm here in the architecture tab. I'm going to come to roof, and I will do roof by footprint. All right, so I have to create the footprint. All right, and I have to plug in the overhangs, and I have to define the slope. All right, so a couple things to take care of. So, and of course I have to tell it where this roof is going. So the base level for the roof is going to be the roof bearing. That is where the roof is going to sit. The roof is 12 inches. That's a little on the thick side. Let's see. Let's take a look at the picture one more time. Yeah, that's too thick, way too thick. So let us, we could go with a 9-inch. Yeah, that should suffice. 9 inches is a good number, 8, 9 inches. So if you have 9, you could work with that. Otherwise, create an 8 or 9-inch roof, I would say. And if we don't like it, we could change it afterwards. Okay, so now I'm going to take care of the gable walls first. And the gable walls do not define a slope. So I have to unclick that box. Okay, so the gable walls, I'm going to take care of 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so that would be right here and right here. And then otherwise, on these other sides, right here and here, we have gutters. And on the other side, we also have gutters, this whole wall and this whole wall. Okay? So I am starting with the gables, this wall and this wall, this wall and this wall. So I have to, that does not define the slope, and the overhang is going to be 1 foot. So I'm going to plug that in there. All right, and then all I have to do is come down here and kind of just like offsetting walls, I see that dashed line appearing. So now it's asking me what side of the wall does the roof overhang go on, and it's on the outside of the house, of course. So 1 click there and 1 click here. So now I have two lines that are going to begin to define this roof. Okay. Now I'm going to come back up and I'm going to take care of the others. And the others are going to define the slope, meaning this is where the gutter is going to hang. And I'm going to move this down to 6 inches. Again, these could be changed later, so if when we see it in 3 dimensions, we don't care for the results, we will we could adjust it. All right, so here I am, and there's the dashed line coming in. And now right here we see that triangle, and we see a roof slope. So this is telling us that this roof is is 9 inches of rise over 12 inches of run. And that's, let's zoom in. Oh, this thing doesn't get any bigger, so that doesn't really help us. But so right here, that triangle is telling us that we're going to run over 12 inches in this direction, and then we're going to run up 9 inches in this direction, and that is giving us our slope. So you call that a 9/12 slope. Okay, and we're going to do the same here. And again, we see 9/12, 9/12, and 9/12. Okay, so 9/12 is a pretty steep slope, and that might do for this. All right, that looks like might be a 45. So we're gonna have to look at this in 3D, everybody is, and then decide if it looks good to the eye. Okay, I highly doubt that this text is going to tell us the slope of this roof. It's not. It tells us the size. This is kind of like real estate selling for houses. So nobody cares about the slope of a roof. They're just telling us how big our bedrooms are. Okay. So these lines have all connected. I see my slope arrows, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where my gutters are. So this looks good. I'm on the right place, and I'm just going to give it the green light. It's going to take some experimentation. And there we go. Let's jump back to our 3D view and see what we accomplished. And there it is. So Revit kind of filled in. All right, so we got a little bit of a goofy line in there for some reason. So Revit kind of filled in the blanks and completed the roof. All right, so this is a little goofy, and that's because of dimensions. It's because of the dimensions of it, and it could be also because of the slope. So we could play with this. Let's look at an elevation. Actually, let's go back to our elevations, and here we are. So that 9/12 looks a little shallow. So let's jump back. We have the east elevation, and my floor plan is here on the first floor. So these have a greater pitch. So a 12/12 is a 45-degree angle. So that's probably what these actually are, 12/12. So I'm going to jump back, and let's see if that perhaps helps our situation. Let's see if we can edit that right here in 3 dimensions. I'm going to select that. Just like the floors, we have to edit the footprint, and we could see the outline, the footprint of our roof. And we click on it, and there's our 9/12. And now let's just come over here and turn that to 12. And we have to change them all. Apply, give it the green light. And we still have that weird kink in there. We might not be able to get rid of it. That's something we might have to live with. So then let's take another look in elevation. and that looks better. So this height, that's peculiar. We're gonna have to think about that one and how we might repair that situation. So let's go back and jump and take a look at the first floor plan and see. Yeah, they got it all neat, and we did not for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. I'm gonna have to ponder that one. And these things could be repaired as we go. So I'm not overly concerned about it. Roofs could be tricky. Let's jump back into the let's jump back into the second floor bearing. Okay, so what's happening here? Why does this look so peculiar, you might ask? This is because we're basically cutting a section. Every floor plan we cut through at a certain point. So what we could do, if we want to see this thing from above, is we have to create a new elevation. So I'm going to jump back into east elevation, and what we're doing here, this roof plan that we just saw basically is cutting a section right through here and looking down, and it's probably happening at about 4 feet above here. And that's why it's cutting through here, and that's why we see that roof being cut through and we can't see the top. So if we want to see the top, we have to just create another level. So I'm just going to arbitrarily come right up here, and this is just a temporary level. I don't care what height it is really. And there it is, level 5, and I can't see, so let us go back to our underlay, and let's look down to the roof bearing, apply, and now I can see my roof. Okay. And I don't think it's going to allow me, and then sometimes in this situation I can't even select this thing, so I do have to, so sometimes we do have to jump into a certain view, edit the footprint, and then if we want to see the entire roof, it's not going to change actually, because all this, it's probably just going to look the same, but if we jump back here, now we're actually at the top of that. And I'm probably going to show you a second way maybe to build this roof, but this is a good start. Okay, there'll be more on roofs. This is a good start, and so I'm going to stick with this. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to live with this little kink in it for now. Maybe I'll circle back, and you're all going to have different projects, so we're going to have a lot of different roof issues to troubleshoot. But this will get me started, and we could circle back to the roof. I just want to get the walls in place to start. So here we are now, and let's get these walls up to where they need to be, and we'll tackle the roof issues later. Okay, so this is pretty simple and handy actually. So we select our roof, and then we say attach to the top, and then we select our roof, and then it goes up. So select, attach, select, attach, select. Everybody's going right up. So this is why I left them down at the bottom, because again, that second floor, the roof bearing is actually up here somewhere, so it would be messier. It'd be messier if I set those roofs, if I set those walls up at their complete height. This would be it would be more of a chore to do this. It'd be more kind of cleaning, repair work. So that is the basic shape of my. Besides the roof kink, I think that looks pretty good. And again, it's going to be kind of a back and forth looking at the images. We want to get the proportions nice. But if things aren't looking good, then we just simply come back to our elevations. If this thing is looking a little too tall, we could come back and change this 21.3 and bring it down, which actually might be the case. I might just do that right now, because this is too tall. All right, I'm going to probably leave the template how it is for you. But when we jump back here to our floor plan, where is that on our first floor? Yes, it is too tall. So here's my second floor roughly. This is where somebody would be standing, and this is only a partial height wall. So what I'm providing in this template for you are full height walls, and it does not look correct. It does not look correct at this point. So I'm going to go back to the elevation, and I'm going to fix it to get the overall form correct. And I think if you're not following me, I think you will after I make this repair. So you could see that this is a full story second height, and I've actually kind of created a third story. So again, everyone's house is going to be different. So you're going to have to adjust accordingly. So I'm going to bring this down about 5 feet. Let's make that 16. And now it's looking better. Okay, so now I have so an adult could stand in here. Adult can't stand here at the end, but they could stand here in the center. So let's just jump back and forth between the east and the first floor and see. Maybe a little taller. Actually, I wonder, looking at this angle, unless it's foreshortened, kind of wonder if this might be more than a 12-12. I might play with that a little bit. One more time. I'm going to jump back to my east elevation. I could bring these a little closer now that we have such a modestly sized house. For some reason my grade did not want to come with us. The grade doesn't seem to be locked in with the others. Okay, so let's just bring that. What did I say? Maybe a little taller, perhaps. Let's select that. Put a break line in it. Move it up so we can see nice and clearly. Let's just raise that one more foot. Now a little taller, and I'm going to make these actually a little bit steeper. They might be 12-12s in real life. I'm just curious what that's going to do for that kink in the roof. I might or might not like this decision, but we'll take a look regardless. Edit. So we're at 12-12. Move these to 14 and just see how I like that. Okay, let's give it the green light. So I still have this kink in here. It's just not going away for me. And the how roofs interact with each other, how this gable interacts with that gable, that's a function of a number of. It's a function of the slope. It's a function of the width of this portion of the span. The span is how far the roof reaches or spans from side to side. So roofs are tricky in that regard, and I'm going to live with this kink. I'm not going to get overly crazy about it, and if I come up with a solution, I'll definitely share it with you, but in the meantime, I'm going to live with it. This gets me started, and I could always come back and repair the roof. So let's just take a look at the elevation, and then let's jump back to the first floor. So it's nice tall roof. It looks good. Besides that kink, I'm not completely happy about that, but like I said, I'm just going to live with it for now. And again, both of these are kind of foreshortened, but I think I'm gonna take that as I'm gonna accept that as being done. And then I have to come in and I have to put in these down here, these the walls for this porch, front and back, and then we'll have stairs. We might or might not get to these this type of decorative we call that a kind of a lattice. I'm going to leave it up to you for your interpreting or updating. As I said, we could kind of bring these houses into the 21st century. I showed you examples of Sears homes that were updated. So I want to keep with it as best as possible. But again, 21st century updates are okay. So these kind of sunbursts or this kind of little decorative gingerbread work that if it's not there, that's okay. So let's just jump back in here and let's just drop in a few more walls quickly. So we'll go with a wall, and we actually have to put floors in as well. So I'll do these walls quickly, then I'll do the floors, and then I'll probably call that good for now. So let's see, we have 6-inch walls, that's fine, and I want these to go from grade to the first floor. Okay, and this is going to be for our porch. So I will start here, pull to what would be the center, pull back a little bit, and back into there. Okay, so that should be our front porch, and one more for the back, and take us from, so I'm on the first floor plan, so that's why it's assuming I want these on the first, but I do not. I'm going from grade to first. We'll start here, here, and here. Good. I do want these to be nice and neat, and they look pretty good. Looks like I kind of got lucky there. And let's take a look in 3D. And does that look good? Okay, so it looks good, except my walls therefore need to get down to grade. So that was a goof on my part. So let's take these down to grade. Let's see, can I select several of these? Yes, I'm holding down the control button. And I'm selecting several roofs, several walls, holding the control button. I can do these all at once. That looks pretty good. Proportionally, I think it looks nice. Okay, and now let's put in some floors quickly, and then we'll cut a section, and we'll conclude the first phase of this project. So let's jump back to our first floor, and let's put some floors in. So floors here, floor, and just to jump back to my Word document. So I assumed a 10-inch floor here. Okay, so that's kind of, well, I brought this thing down, so, but 10's still a good number. A 12-inch floor would be for long spans. It could even probably be 8, but 10's a good number. I think that'll look good in section. So let's go to floor, and do we have, oh, so we do have wood joists. Okay, let's go with that. So rather than generic, let's put this in. We could always change them later. And where are we going? We will go to the first floor. That's fine. We need 2 floors. We need one for the first, one for the second. And we could draw it, or let's see, where are we? We could draw it. Yeah, let's just draw it, I suppose. That would work. And we could just snap right in here easily enough. Give it the green light. Would you like the walls to go up to this floor's level to attach to its bottom? Do not, I don't know why you would ever agree to this. It always causes problems. There's probably a reason, but I don't know what it is. Always say no. Because even the walls that I've already drawn, they will relocate and they will end up being connected to this floor. So the answer is always no. Always no. Okay, and then let's do one more floor while we're here. So back architecture, back to our floor, good, and let's take this one to the second floor. And just draw it. Oops. And close, and green light, and no. Okay, let's take a look at section. Sections always tell us the truth. Let's cut 2 sections. 2 sections are always better than 1 section. And let's cut one. Let's go right through the front door. Let's look this way. And there we are. Okay. So we'll put a little slab down here in our crawl space, but otherwise we have our floors set nicely, and I think this looks pretty good. And then here's our other section. We just click right on that, and there it is. So it's on its way. These, yeah, let me just do one last thing. I keep saying it's one last thing, but I want to do one more. And I'm going to put some floors, I'll put some little 6-inch floors. I'll put 6-inch floors in. So I'm going to drop these by 6 inches. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into my 3D view so I can select them all. I'm going to hold the control button. And now I am going to, so I'm going from grade to first, and I'm going to have a top offset of minus 6 inches. I'm going to put a 6-inch floor. Let's do an 8-inch. Let's do an 8-inch. An 8-inch floor on top of the porch. All right, an 8-inch I think will look best. And now this should bring down those things 8 inches. We just saw them jump down. And if we see what that looks like in elevation, there they are. Now they're 8 inches below that floor. And then when I come back to my first floor, now I could put my floor in. And do I have an 8-inch generic floor here? I do not see one, so let's select the 12, edit, duplicate, 8 inches, okay. And actually we know from experience now that that we have to break these components out separately. So I'm just going to do that right now. You know, we need, we don't want, in case we have an 8-inch floor somewhere else, which we're not in this little house, but in case we did, and we want to treat them differently in terms of materials, we know that we need to separate them. So let's just do that now. So these are our 2 porch ones, and then we have to get in and edit our structure. So let's bring that to 0 and 8 inches, not 9, 8. Okay, okay. And now we want this to live on our first floor. That is correct. So let's get a line. And we're going to zoom in. And now that wall is already in place, so we want to snap to it. There's our snap. And green light. No. And one more in the back. Floor, good. We're in the floor. Floor. And one more time. And we're in the right place. Yes. Green light. No. And let's take a look at our sections now. And there we go. So now because we knew those floors were going to be coming in below that line, so that's why I cheated those walls down. Okay. And these walls, so here, different situation. In real life, well, this is kind of a longer story to tell you the truth, but in real life, contemporary framing practices, this floor would be inside this wall, okay? Back in the day, when they built these walls were actually tall, and it might have been a 2-foot or a 2-story wall. That's called balloon framing, when you had walls that actually extended up past the floor. So back in the day when this house was built, this cross section might have actually looked like this, with tall walls and floors inside of them. If it were built today, we'd have a wall, then we'd have a floor sitting on top of it, platform framing, and then this next wall would be on top of it. For Revit purposes, so in contemporary framing practices, this does not look right. It looks a little strange to have walls running past it. You could make the argument that this thing was built 100 years ago and this is what it looked like. For our purposes, for our introductory Revit class, I'm more concerned about making life a little simpler, and that when we apply the material to the outside of this, wall, I just want a continuous wall. I don't want to see the outside of this. I don't want to see this line of floor being out here. So I kind of simplified it for that regard, so that we have a nice continuous wall running up. And then here, this one, in real life, if we were looking at a porch, like, let's jump to our first floor plan and see, right here, we could see the end of those floor joists. That's what that is right there, right? These joists are coming out, and that's what this board represents. So that we expect to see that. We would not expect to see whatever this wall is here if we do these decorative things, or if we turn it into stone, perhaps that might look nice. We would not expect the stone to come right up to here, because the joists have to sit on the stone. That's what would really happen in real life. You know, whatever this little foundation is, we would expect the joist to be sitting on it. So again, when I get back to my 3D view or my elevation view, we expect to see this sitting on top of that, right, or into my section, really. That's where I was kind of just describing, not this section, this section. That's what I was kind of describing. We expect to see the edge of this board because that's the floor. Okay? All right, I'm going to call it quits there. I think that should help get you started, and good luck, and we will follow up later with more.